Carl, can I get a roll call vote from you?
Councilmember Remley.
Here.
Ronayne.
Here.
Lunsman.
Here.
Rife.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Bunceness.
Here.
Olson.
Here.
Rux.
Here.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Here. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is to approve last week's minutes for Tuesday, September 3rd. Can I get a motion to do that?
Moved. Second.
A motion from Bunsen, second from Remley. Carl, can I get a roll call to approve the minutes?
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Rife.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Rux.
Aye.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Aye. Motion does carry. Next item on the agenda is an official proclamation, City of Aberdeen, South Dakota. Whereas direct support professionals deliver individualized services and support for South Dakotans with intellectual and developmental disabilities, whereas there are nearly 3,200 direct support professionals working for 20 community support provider agencies in the South Dakota Development Center, whereas direct support professionals provide essential supports for individuals with disability to be active members of their communities and stay connected with friends and family, whereas direct support professionals provide individuals with disabilities to achieve integrated competitive employment and careers in their communities, whereas communities are strengthened and enriched by the inclusion of all members of society, including people with disabilities, whereas Direct Support Professionals Week is an opportunity to recognize the dedicated, devoted, and compassionate workers who support individuals with disabilities and thank them for their service to South Dakotans with disabilities and their family. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Travis Schoeneman, Mayor of Aberdeen, do hereby proclaim the week of September 8th through 14th, 2019 as Direct Support Professionals Recognition Week.
Sometimes we ask if there's anyone here that is
Representing.
Yeah, is
Representative.
anyone here to speak? Oh, there we are. Sorry about that. Still figuring out protocol, little by little.
That's okay. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Gray, Executive Director at Aspire here in Aberdeen. Mayor and members of the council, thank you for the proclamation. It's really great that so many members of the community came out to celebrate this proclamation with us tonight. Thank you all. As you probably know, we have about 150 individuals with intellectual disabilities that are being supported by our organization, and we have a wonderful staff at Aspire that are helping those individuals be an active part of our community through working and volunteering and through their residential and recreational opportunities. We appreciate your support and the support of our community to help those people be an active part of the Aberdeen life. Life is good here in Aberdeen, and we appreciate that. And thank you so much for the proclamation.
Thank you for all you do, Jennifer. I look forward to your event this week.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is open forum. We've got several speakers here today. So first, I'll give the floor to Attorney Drew Johnson as it relates to conflict of interest.
Thank you to the members of the commission here. I've been a city attorney for the city of Groton for 30-some years, and since this new open meeting law went into effect, we've never had one person show up at a meeting to ever state something that wasn't already on the agenda. So appreciate this opportunity to address this issue. But what I'm captivated by is the article that's come out in the paper and the minutes from one of your last meetings. One of your council members said this about the conflict of interest with the mayor. Unfortunately, I believe these activities violate the state law. I see we have a legislator here who was here when South Dakota passed that law, and our law is at Chapter 323.2, and it says, an elected member of a commission or a council may not be a party to a contract with that municipality under which he serves. That is a total misstatement of the law. SDCL 323.2 applies only to state officials. It does not apply to council members. L. Northrup was here a meeting or two ago, and he reached out to the Legislative Research Council and got a response back today from Dave Orthbon, who is the chief attorney for that council peer, and he agreed that 323.2 does not apply to city council members or the mayor. So that's a miscode. And I need to correct that. And also under SDCL 323.10, there's a section of the law specifically pointing out 23 state agencies which that law does apply to. And being a municipal government is not applicable under that statute. So that is the wrong place to put the emphasis in moving forward with this issue. But I don't want to leave without giving some guidance, I guess, if I could call it that, if I would have that privilege, and call upon your city attorney to explore the possibility of taking this issue up on a declaratory judgment basis under SDCL 2124-1. That is an open forum with a judge, a circuit judge in this circuit here in Aberdeen, who can be given the authority to decide this issue if what is being proposed is a conflict of interest or not, rather than going off and letting it happen or prohibiting it by another ordinance. You could take that issue, and I'm sure your attorney Ron knows what I'm talking about, and have a judge issue a declaratory ruling which has the force of law. Either he could say it is not a conflict or it is a conflict, and that's where it would end. But before we do a lot of extra work through the city ordinances or whatever, I think that would be your quickest and cheapest way to get a final answer to this question. So nobody gets into any trouble. You're not prohibiting something that somebody can legally do, and let a judge make his ruling. And I'm sure in the future I'd be more than happy to talk to Ron about that. I am not here as an attorney for the mayor. I'm here as a friend of this commission to simply pass along my thoughts and get this record clarified, that statement in the news or in the minutes of the last meeting or two meetings ago was not accurate, and that has to be corrected, and I hope the paper picks that up. There was no violation of any law under that statute, and that was the only one that was mentioned. So that needs to be corrected in the paper and let the citizens of Aberdeen know that. So that's all I have for my 2 minutes. I was told to be brief, and 2 minutes is a short period of time for any lawyer.
Could I have a couple of
as you
questions
know.
for Drew, please?
So,
What have you got, Rob?
Well, a couple of questions, Drew. You know, you said you're not here as the mayor's lawyer, but you are the mayor's lawyer, right?
I haven't represented him in any legal matter for probably 10 years.
Okay.
A
You've
long
represented
time
him, but
ago,
not lately.
I have been his attorney. I've been his attorney in several business endeavors of his and some other things, but I haven't had anything to do with, and in fact, there was some article in the paper that said he talked to his attorney about going ahead. That wasn't me.
Okay.
He didn't talk to me.
My other question is, you're the attorney, I know you are, for the city of Groton. Is Groton a home rule city?
It is not.
Do they have
Charter home rule?
Yes.
No.
They don't have a charter.
No,
Have you read the Aberdeen Charter?
I have not.
Do you know what the Aberdeen Charter says about the relationship between that ordinance or that state statute you talked about?
I have not read it, Rob.
Let me finish the question. Do you know what it says about the relationship between our charter and the statute that you referred to today?
I don't, like I said, I haven't read your charter here in Aberdeen, so I don't
If
know
you
the
knew-
application at all.
If you knew that it said that the Aberdeen City Council is going to be held to the same standards, higher but never lower than that of state officials, would that affect the opinion that you gave here today?
I don't think that you can find a state authority that's going to back up that part of your ordinance here, or the charter, the home rule charter, with that statute. That's my opinion.
Okay,
But
let me
it's
ask you
just
this
that.
question then. Could a state official contract directly with a state agency beyond their salary?
You know, Rob, to be fair with me, I got into this issue today.
Okay.
I have had about 1 hour to prepare for my presentation. I do not have all those answers to your questions.
Okay, fair enough.
And I was not told that I would be drilled at this table if I came here to answer these kind of questions.
And I didn't know you were going to be here, and I didn't intend to drill you, but you came here telling us that you were an expert in this, and I guess I just wanted to know what kind of expertise you're bringing.
All I've done is read the statutes like anybody else could have and found that they don't apply to city officials, other than maybe through your home rule charter.
But you didn't read the
that's-
charter.
I don't have that access to that at all.
Thank you, Drew.
Okay, yep. Anything else, anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Drew. And it probably is a good time to remind people that, I know I did call upon him, but this is a time for people to present their information for informational purposes, not a time for problem solving, as stated in, well, just sake of time. But next we've got Representative Carl Perry. Carl, what have you got for us?
Thank you very much. First, I'm Carl Perry. I'm representative for District 3. But first, I want to say that with Jennifer Gray, we're really excited for those things and the proclamation, the community service providers. The state was, instead of less than 3% that we normally do, we were able to go 6.5% this year. And we think we made an impact, and we think that's important, and we think the things that Jennifer is doing are superb. So with that said, now I'll just go into, I have a very short presentation, no fancy words, no legalese, and really I don't want to answer any legalese questions, and I want to be reasonable. And but we've been part of this, I've been part of this community, active in business and in many organizations, including, I was the chairman of the Aberdeen Area Chamber of Commerce at one time. I wanted the City Council to know my thoughts on competition, so I sent you information. And here are my 3 thoughts for today. First, we need to trust those that we give promotion funds to. We need to spread the work, spread the decision-making. How would you like to be second-guessed as a business person or as a volunteer? Can we get others to be board members if we micromanage what they're doing? I think what we've done is wrong. What we've done is, at one time, we had 2 people out of 5, and then now, because of what's happened, is we backed that off completely, but we were down to 1 choice versus 2. But let's trust the integrity of the decision team. I believe that this editorial that the mayor's editorial was both informative and open. I don't believe that it was under the mayor's category or mayor's column or anything like that. I think what he was doing was being open and forthright. And so I think that was good. The qualities of a great man are vision, integrity, courage, understanding, the power of articulation, and character. And Dwight D. Eisenhower said that. And the foundation stones for balanced success are honesty, character, integrity, faith, love, and loyalty. A really good speaker, Zig Ziglar, said that. And when we start questioning people's integrity, that's a problem as far as I'm concerned. Second, review the mission statement of the city council. Here's what it says. We will, for the betterment of the people, shape a future with a positive environment through stewardship and collaborative leadership. I am going to tell you that recently, I didn't see collaborative leadership. I saw some dissection, and I didn't see a positive environment. And, if I picked up the paper in Watertown, South Dakota, and I was going to move to Aberdeen or somewhere in South Dakota, I'd look and I'd see, oh, they're talking about a new park. Oh, they're talking about a new school. And I'll pick up Aberdeen's, and I'll see the headline is, the city council member accuses the mayor. We need to look at our actions and the mission of the city council members, and we need to move on. I think, in the words of a famous city manager, maybe we've spent enough time on this. And I think we can disagree, but we should not be disagreeable. At this point, I believe there are people that are being disagreeable. And my question to you, and not to me, but to you, do you feel it's appropriate to have a public apology for the recent accusations? Do you feel that the actions of the city council represent the feelings of the people of Aberdeen, South Dakota? Do we think we're doing the right things? By themselves, character and integrity do not accomplish anything, but their absence faults everywhere else and everything else. Peter Drucker said that. He's written some really famous books. I think leadership is more than being able to cross the T's and dot the I's. A person that came to Aberdeen, South Dakota at one time is a person that said that, and it's Steve Largent. It's about character and integrity and work ethic. And I believe all those things are important. And the third and final note, before I do the third and final note, we have organizations that we trust with our promotional funds. And a couple of them are here right now. And I can tell you that the Aberdeen Area Chamber of Commerce with Lisa and Gail behind me are superb individuals. There is nothing with their integrity that I would ever question. And I hope that none of you question those things either. And Casey with the CVB, he's in his position because he's darn good at it. And Shelley with the Aberdeen Downtown Association, I didn't ask her if it was all right if I said she's really a great gal, but she's really a great gal and she's doing a good job for us. And this actually gives us a spectrum of coverage and shared responsibility. These are people that make a difference in our community. When you question their integrity, which is what you did, specifically one of you, you have a problem. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and in convenience, but where he stands at the time of challenge and controversy. Martin Luther King wrote that several years ago, and I think he was talking about Mayor Shoneman, because it's not convenient, and it's a time of challenge and controversy. We shouldn't be on the front page of the newspaper with challenge and controversy. We shouldn't be on the front page of the newspaper with any of these things. What we should be is we are moving forward as a city, and we're making things happen, and we're the best city council in the entire country. Thank you for your time and attention. From today on, let's show just our best. Let's write our story, but not with this type of negative information. Remember, life is good in the hub city and in the Aberdeen area. And finally, assassination of a reputation is not acceptable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carl. One more speaker, Senator Al Knobstrup.
Being passed out is a letter, an email, directed to me from David Ortman. David Ortman, if you look at the letter, the email, he says he's the Chief Research and Legal Analyst with the Legislative Research Council. Dave has been with the Legislative Research Council for approximately 20 years. His title is Chief Research and Legal Analyst, so that tells you he's probably well respected within that group. And the question I posed to him, because a few weeks ago the accusation was made that the mayor had violated 3-23-2, and that is a subset of 3-23. And so I directly asked David that exact question, and he gave me this letter in response. And basically, he says that Chapter 3, 23 of the South Dakota Codified Laws applies to state authorities, boards, and commissions. And the commissions doesn't mean city commissions, it means statewide commissions. And David and I had a conversation concerning that. So I think the accusation that the mayor has violated 3-23 in any shape, form, or manner has been disproven by two different attorneys. So I think we need to let that dog lie. I think what we're trying to do is, if you look at the mission statement of the city council, is to make Aberdeen a better place. And I go on YouTube, and you can go on YouTube and see city councils that throw things at each other, that accuse each other of crimes, that do all kinds of outrageous behavior. I hope that this is the end of that behavior in Aberdeen. It doesn't help us recruit businesses to town if they know there's that type of activity going on. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council.
Thanks, Al. As it for our open forum. Next, we'll move on to old business. The first order of business is this possible final adoption, second reading of ordinance 1908-01, amending the zoning regulations for the city code regarding business use of homes.
Make that motion.
Take a motion from Bunceness and a second from Ronayne. Is anyone here to speak on that topic? One.
I've vastly underestimated how many people were here. I got mine before you.
You got the floor.
My name is Matt Delkey. I'm here to quickly talk about this ordinance involving the change of running a business out of your garage. I'd like to point out that I do not personally have a horse in the race. This ordinance will not directly affect me. I am, however, a small business owner, so I do understand the hurdles that everyone faces when trying to start a small business. By my last count, Aberdeen funds no fewer than 4 entities that solely revolve around attracting, keeping, and helping businesses to start in Aberdeen. These are the Chamber of Commerce, Small Business Development Center, Downtown Association, Aberdeen Development Corporation. I'm sure there's probably a few others that revolve around that. It appears to me Aberdeen has chosen to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this effort, which I applaud, but now it kind of seems like you're trying to undermine that with this ordinance. In the handout, you'll see there's a few key points on there I want to point out. 69% of businesses start in garages and basements. 59% of all current businesses operate from basements and garages. 10 of the biggest companies in the world started out of garages. Aberdeen should be focusing on how can we attract and develop and maintain these businesses to create jobs, not enter in more hurdles to jump over. If you don't like Mayor Shonneman's proposed ordinance, that's fine. You don't have to adopt that, but that doesn't mean you have to make it more restrictive by adopting this new ordinance. That's it. Thank you.
Dave, what have you got?
Couple points. First off, when we talk about people's integrity being questioned, I've never had my integrity questioned so many times in the past 2 months than right now. So it goes both ways. But I want to clear up some misinformation. First, the existing ordinance that is in place that we are visiting about tonight has been around for 20 plus years. And the ordinance, the amendment that I made, it changes that ordinance by allowing one additional person on site for that home business. The current ordinance is not anti-business. The purpose of the ordinance is to protect the character of the residential areas. Residential areas were not necessarily meant to house businesses. And so what we've done with this ordinance, and again, this ordinance has been around for a very long period of time, is that you allow low-intensity type businesses to be in houses. Low-intensity businesses are businesses that when you look at the outside of the house, you can't tell that a business is there. I understand that some people think that this ordinance is going to eliminate garage sales. Not true. If it was true, they'd have been eliminated 20 years ago. I understand people think that I'm anti-business and I'm against entrepreneurs. Not true. I have a small business. I've worked with entrepreneurs. I worked with small businesses, and I continue to do that today. I enjoy that work. This is all about preserving the character of residential. I am an advocate for that. starting with not having windmills on every house in this community, starting with not having chickens at your house. I voted against those things. Not everyone did on this council, okay? Starting with helping residents protect their driveways from people that like to park up right next to them. Lost that battle. And so I'm not even, okay. Don't get sidetracked. Just a minute, I'm not done. My last item is this idea of Amazon, Disney, Google, HP, Apple, Mattel, started in the garage. Why can't we? Or is it the premise that since these businesses were allowed, Aberdeen must not be as supportive toward businesses as these communities? That's not the case. I took some time, created an analysis of these communities. I will tell you that Aberdeen looks pretty good. So I took a look at Aberdeen. I took a look at LA, which is where Disney started. Now there's some conflicting information. Shouldn't always believe what you see on the internet, especially Facebook. But Disney, they say, one source I saw was that Disney started in the back of an office building. But I think it's listed that it started in a garage, so I'll assume that. I took the ordinance from LA. Hawthorne, California, Mattel, Disney started in 1923. That, I think, was before any home occupation ordinances were even, what I could see, home occupation ordinances started around the late 40s. But I'm not sure. I'll ask the pro. Mattel, Hawthorne, California. Google, Menlo Park, California. Microsoft, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Apple, Cupertino, California. I might have pronounced that wrong. Sorry. HPA, Palo Alto, California. Amazon, Bellevue, Washington. So, Google, Apple, HP in the Silicon Valley, close to Stanford University. So let's talk about permits. Aberdeen, Palo Alto, California are the only two communities that don't require a permit to have an home occupation. That's huge. That's huge. These other communities get your money and they know where you're at. Other thing, accessory buildings. We don't allow business use in accessory buildings in Aberdeen. Disney, you can use it for incidental storage, providing that required covered parking areas are maintained not to exceed 400 square feet. A lot of these do not allow it. Some of them allow it, but you got to be able to park the car in the garage at night. That's how detailed these people get. What else do I got here? Signage. We allowed signage. A lot of these communities don't allow signage at all. What was the other interesting piece? They all talk about residential character, and you cannot change anything on your house to make it look like there's a business. Excuse me. Area occupied, we're 20 square feet of gross floor feet. Most of them are that. There was one that, there's a couple that are 25%, it's 20%, 25% that can't exceed 500 square feet. We are in the ballpark, or even better than these communities that started Google, HP, Amazon. I don't know how they did it. They must have been violating their ordinances. Sioux Falls is more restrictive than us. They ask for a permit, and a permit is a big deal. That's not business friendly. Aberdeen and this council are very supportive of business, and I have proof right here. All we're saying is we need to protect the residential character. Now, some people might think, well, if we pass this ordinance, zoning is going to be out looking for businesses. that are violating, that are non-conforming. Brett, what's your thought about that?
I guess if they've already been non-conforming, we might have already found them. If we haven't, we might eventually. If we're not out hunting for these things.
So if they haven't been found now, you're not looking for them.
Unless there's a complaint. If there's a complaint.
A complaint, a neighbor complaint.
Or if it's blatant.
Or it's blatant, okay. So, anyway, I'm going to support this ordinance. Aberdeen is very supportive of business. And as you can tell, we are better than the other communities. Thank you.
I don't think that those businesses would currently be able to be started in the garages because they've went on to restrict them same as us. The point being here, with a list like this, is at one point, it was legal for those people and it spawned off into great business successes.
So
Kodak Sports in Aberdeen started in a garage. It's a great example. They're a great business now. They're very successful. They're one that we can all hang our hat on, but they wouldn't have been able to survive or to start in the first place if we would have had this ordinance as it stands. Now, there's also another point in this same ordinance that exists that says there shall be no change to the outside appearance or dwelling, which sounded like it was kind of what your big concern was with the, making sure that the appearance of the homes within the community stayed that way. That will still be the same way, whether or not we allow people to use their garage for business purposes.
So do you know if Amazon and HP were in violation of their
I have no
ordinances?
idea. I can assure you that ordinances everywhere used to be more or less restrictive than they are today. So it only stands to reason that at one point they were allowed, now they're not, if you found that they're not.
And that's a factor of a lot of things in society, is things are changing, they're evolving. And so then all of a sudden you have to deal with, we've dealt with residential issues before. Noise ordinances. If you can park your car on the grass in your front yard, they're ever evolving. I don't think anyone could have predicted that years ago.
Sure. No, I totally agree. And the other point that I would like to make is home occupation, with the amended language that I had presented 2 weeks ago that made its first reading, the home occupation in an attached garage will only be conducted as a special exception. So Brett and his department will still get to make their recommendation to the zoning. It'll still have to go through zoning. It'll still have to get approved, but instead of them hearing a no, which is what everybody gets that goes for that variance now, they'll get a maybe, or depending on how Brett feels that day. So I think
it's not about that. Come on. I mean, this is a pretty serious thing
there's
that's
a pretty
happening
good
around here, and you're
backstop
making a
against
joke.
businesses that would be, there's a pretty good backstop against businesses that would be detrimental to neighborhoods because they'll have to be approved by Brett and his department. That recommendation will be made. So and I've heard there's been a lot of misinformation. I've corrected it wherever possible. Of course, there's going to not affect daycares or garage sales or so forth.
Right.
And then the third thing that I would like to mention, there was one third point that you had stricken from last week's meeting, which was no mechanical equipment other than ordinary utilized within a dwelling unit. I would say that I'm talking in terms of embroidery equipment, sewing machines, woodworking equipment. A lot of the businesses that are happening in these garages have a mini industrial bent to them. It's people doing woodworking projects, doing micro assembly, doing embroidery, doing printing, doing that kind of a thing. I don't think it's detrimental to a neighborhood. I don't think it negatively impacts housing values, or people probably even know that those things are going on. There's a fair amount of that. In fact, during a radio interview that I was on Friday, someone called in and said they're currently doing that in their garage as we speak. And so they're in violation. I think that it wouldn't be a bad thing to allow people like that to legally operate those businesses in their garage.
Mayor, in talking with Brett, those kinds of businesses you just referenced, such as a embroidery machine, have been tolerated or allowed under B13, considering them a household or hobby use. So typically those are not, in fact, I know that they are not being excluded by this ordinance.
Sure. And that was just, I was trying to loosen this up, trying to make it more possible, allow people to see that businesses development is not out of reach for them, to make it clear the path for those people. If the council disagrees with me on that, I guess I'll swallow that pill.
Understand.
So, please.
Yes.
My name is Deanna Haig. I have started 2 businesses here in town. And just from experience, rent is very, very expensive here in Aberdeen. Even if you compare that to Rapid, I thought about opening another one in Rapid. It was bigger space, way cheaper. Rent is very, very hard. And luckily, I've been fortunate that I did not have to start in a garage or home or whatever, but it's hard to get started if you want to start a business. And luckily, I was fortunate to do that, but like I said, with the price of rent, you don't want to get into this obligation of 3-5 years at $3,000 to $5,000 a month. You can't do it, and it would be hard to be able to do that. So I guess that's where my point of view is coming. I don't want to sign a lease with someone and be in debt for $5,000 a month for the next 3 years. You can't do it. So I mean, if they get to that point and their business is growing, they're going to move out anyway. They're going to find a place if they're doing that much business in a month. So I guess that's just my point of view. So I just wanted to express that.
What type of businesses did you start?
I had Sensible Fashions. It's a consignment store, and now I have Catching Fireflies Boutique.
Okay.
So, but anyway, that's just my
Yeah,
opinion.
you look familiar. I just,
Yeah.
couldn't remember where I placed you, but
Yeah.
this would still allow, the ordinance as is you could still have businesses in your home. I know a lot of people who have, what do you have, LuLaRoe, 31 bags. I mean, there's a lot of essential oils. I mean, you can go down the list of people who work in their home, keep their product in their home, and eventually some of them do get their own shops and get into a store like the oil room started probably in their house.
But and the type of businesses that I have, there's no way I could set that
No.
up in my house. It would have to be in a garage or a basement or something. So, I mean, I know there's all different types out there, and I know a bunch of people that are doing them now, doing the woodworking and all of that as well. But I think it's so hard. Even like our housing up here is much more expensive. I do a lot of comparisons between Rapid and Sioux Falls and here, and rent is outrageous. There's a couple people that own all the properties in town, and even if you get into a contract with them, the next year it jumps up. You can't afford to leave and start over. So, I mean, if somebody's wanting to start their own business, they're going to get to a point, if it's that successful, they're going to move out of that garage or whatever. I mean, I think you can have some more restrictions on it without making it look like it's a rummage sale or whatever, I
don't
guess
mind
that's just
rummage sales.
I don't either.
There's
I
a
don't
lady
either.
around the corner who has one every weekend, great.
Yeah. So I guess that's just my point of view from being an entrepreneur, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would entertain a motion to revert to the original amendment from 2 weeks ago that we had a first reading on. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. We got another contributor here. You've got the floor.
My name is Mark Kolb, and I have a small business. I do snow and lawn, and all my equipment's kept in my garage. And I don't have any signage or nothing. It's all word of mouth. But to afford some type of rental to keep that equipment in, to continue to do the businesses, I couldn't afford it. And 90% of my business is commercial, so I do your guys' places, and it's done before 8 in the morning. And I follow every year there's something new. This year I had to up my insurance to a $5 million bond just to go on people's properties. I used to hold a $1 million bond. Well, that cost me another $2,700 for a year to have that bond. That's on top of my regular insurance. And then, it's just getting more ridiculous to where I can't even afford to stay in business, much less I can't have it at my house now to keep my lawnmowers there or my snow equipment there. Now I have to find a place to put it. I can't do it. So then you'll have to find somebody else to do your snow and lawns. But
It's enclosed, all your stuff is in your
not
garage?
necessarily, no. I got to be honest with you. I got a couple mowers, riders outside, that are for specific properties. Don't use them all the time. Use them once a week. Versus this year, everybody's been mowing twice a week. But I'm not an eyesore. My house looks good. My equipment looks fine. But I just.
Do you have a good relationship with your neighbors?
Oh, yeah. I do their yards too. Do the whole neighborhood. But, I'm just one guy. I've gotten 4 phone calls from other lawn guys in town. So I'm kind of representing, the little guy doing this business, so.
So is he in violation according to what you guys have?
He would be.
According to this ordinance, is he in
He would be,
violation?
yes. You just
See,
narked
and
yourself out.
Pardon me?
Nah, it was a
Oh.
joke. I
I
was told
didn't
earlier
think-
not
Yeah,
to joke
yeah,
around.
Blame on yourself.
I've noticed every year, though, there's something new that I have to do, another hoop I have to jump through. It's been every year, commercial tags, insurance, get insurance for employees if I have like a rent-a-kid person, I pay the taxes. I make $100,000 in 1 year. A third's in equipment and repairs. Another third's in help. And, then I pay taxes on top of that. I'm netting $27,000 last year. So is that a great business? No, but I like doing it. But to throw another fee on me to try and get a place, I can't afford that. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
So Brett, what does he, what part of the ordinance does he violate?
The fact that he's storing his equipment in his garage.
What do we have to do to get the public involved in creating these ordinances so that they're good for everybody? You guys are making all the decisions. We want a say in this. How do we go about that?
I think this is kind of it. This is a public forum for discussion on this
Everybody
topic.
said what they had to say, and now you guys are just gonna ignore us and vote on it.
Well, I'm not saying we're ignoring it. Yeah, but, like equipment storage, I don't have a problem if, some equipment is getting stored in a garage. I mean, they store a car. I'm pretty sure you have a commercial truck, right?
No, well.
A commercially licensed truck?
Get commercial tags on my truck.
Yeah. Yep, and like I say, I mean, you probably store that in a garage.
No,
No? Huh?
I drive it every day.
Yeah.
Because I work every day.
But you store it in a driveway or,
In my driveway,
Yeah.
yeah, everything's off the street.
and,
But
and,
you won't allow me to build more garages on my property. It's part of the ordinance. And it really is. I've looked at it. I can't.
Okay.
And I'm a family with 4 kids, and every one of them drive, and the new ordinance came out, and a homeowner can't be allowed to have more than 3 vehicles. Well, what are you gonna buy me a garage somewhere? Where are my kids parked? I don't understand it. It's getting ridiculous.
Mark, thank you. We can't hear you on the live television or the recording or anything when people just in the audience speak, so. Oh, that's all right. You were asked a question. Anyway, I'd entertain a motion to revert to the previous version of the amendment that allows for garage, if someone would do that, or else we'll vote as it stands.
Well, what are the changes? What are the difference? What parts were stricken? Let's talk about those different sections.
So there was 2 stricken components. One of them was a home occupation in an attached garage may be conducted as a special exception. That was what I was talking about, where they'd have to go to the Brett's department, they'd get a recommendation from the zoning board, those people would make the determination of whether they would get a special exception.
As a detached garage? Is that what you said?
As an attached garage, it's still not going to be prohibited, it'll still be prohibited in a detached garage. And then the other one was no mechanical equipment other than ordinarily utilized within a dwelling unit for household or hobby use shall be permitted. That was to be stricken. It's been added back last week. The thinking on that was there's people that reload gun shells and sell them. There's people that do embroidery. Of course, we just learned that some of the embroidery, but upholstery equipment, woodworking equipment, and so forth couldn't be clearly classified as household or hobby use.
Is that accurate, Brett? What kind of equipment for a small business you use? We brought up reloading, for example. Would that be considered normal? What is normal household use? Can you define that?
I guess from my standpoint, I try and look at what people do for hobbies around town. You know, you do have people who embroider for hobby. You do have people who reload for hobby. You have people who make lead-headed jigs for hobbies. And they turn around and might sell them on the side. You know, that's something most of them do from their house. Sometimes they do it in their garage. I don't know it. I don't go and check everybody's garage. So there's many things that people classify as hobbies that might not be a piece of equipment that would normally be within their home. You know, it's pretty broad for me and pretty tough for me to say, well, boy, I don't think that's used for a hobby. And the person argues with me, well, it's my hobby. How am I to say it's not?
Sure. Anyone else have any questions? Fair enough. And
As far as storing equipment in a garage, right now it's no longer permitted. It's not permitted.
It wasn't permitted to begin with, no.
It wasn't permitted to begin with.
But there again, if they're storing things in their garage and they're in their garage, we don't know it. The neighbors aren't complaining about it, so then we don't know it through that avenue either.
Right, so in this instance, Mark's situation is such that there's a peaceful atmosphere in his neighborhood regarding his business. We're informed of it now, but
No, we've been aware of Mark and his
Okay,
business.
sure.
But the fact that his business has been not intrusive to the neighborhood, the
Right.
neighbors haven't complained, nobody's complained.
Right.
I mean, he's been doing lawn and snow removal for years.
Right. So
And
there's
I'd venture guess he's been doing it before the initial home occupation ordinance was
Right.
approved.
So there's a case for enforcement, but absolutely no appetite at this time for enforcement.
That's correct.
Unless it becomes a certain issue like.
And exactly,
Yeah.
unless it becomes obtrusive an issue in the neighborhood and we
But
get
if you're
complaints.
neighborly and you respect your neighbors and you do what you need to, most of the time you don't have, it's not even known that they're running a business.
As we've been, much to my chagrin, called the Gestapo. We are not. We don't go into people's homes. We don't go into people's garages. We try and give people the benefit of the doubt. We try and let people live and let live. But sometimes it's difficult when they don't get along with their neighbors and their neighbors want to complain about them.
Keep mowing your neighbors' yards.
So Carl will take a roll call vote on the final adoption of this ordinance as it stands with Mr. Councilman Bunceness's changes from last week.
Councilmember Rux,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Bunceness,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Rife,
No.
Lunsman,
No.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Remley,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
No. That second reading does pass. Next, we've got consent calendar items A through C, routine city business. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar items?
So moved.
Second.
A motion from Ronayne and a second from Lunsman. Does anyone have any discussion as it relates to the license, street use, or lottery notices that have been listed here? Then I will get a roll call vote. Carl?
Councilmember Remley,
Aye.
Ronayne,
Aye.
Lunsman,
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Bunceness, Olson,
Aye.
Rux,
Aye.
Mayor Leveson. Excuse me, Mayor Shoneman. I got it. Hold on.
I see how you are, Carl. Aye, motion carries. We'll move on to new business. First, we've got a proposal from Stantec Consulting Services to apply for the Brownfields Assessment Grant. Lynn, tell us about that.
Okay, thank you. Stu, would you flip over? Okay, this is what we call a request for council action. Every time we have an issue that comes before the council, they have to fill out this form. And normally I don't show this to the public, but normally we don't work with brownfield assessment grants. So I thought it was very important that people be able to see the overview of what we're doing here. We are not in a forced situation because of a threatened situation, but this application could be considered a community betterment option. The city is eligible to apply for anticipated maximum grant amount of $300,000, which could be divided between petroleum funding for former petroleum sites and hazardous substance funding for sites where hazardous substances other than petroleum are the primary concern, including asbestos. If the grant application is successful, it's anticipated $300,000 in funding would be used over a 3-year period for inventorying the city, assessing and performing and reusing planning. Now, keep in mind, per the request for qualifications, when I put out the proposals, Santec would agree to prepare the fiscal year 2020 EPA CWA grant application at no cost to the city. If the grant application is unsuccessful, Santec would revise and resubmit the fiscal year 2021 application at no additional cost. If the city is awarded the grant, a contract then would be executed with Santec. So this grant application would be at no cost to the city.
Move
It's not.
approval.
Got a motion from Bunceness and a second from Rux. Does anyone have any questions for the city manager?
Is there any matching on this one, or is this strictly a $300,000 grant?
No matching.
Okay.
Matter of fact, you wouldn't have to start a environmental assessment, not unless you actually got the grant on a piece of property.
Okay, thank you.
Carl, can I get a roll call vote on that?
Councilmember Rux,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Bunceness,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Rife,
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Remley.
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, the motion does carry. Next, we've got 3 different payment requests for work on the airport improvement projects. Require passenger loading bridge, Helms and Associates, $1,200. Passenger bridge, John Bean Technologies, $43,766. And master layout plans, Helms and Associates, $16,780. Rich, what have you got?
Okay, we're asking for city manager to be authorized to sign payment. The passenger boarding bridge is at the end of its project, so we'll be closing that project out shortly, and we should see that project completed by the end of October, by the time we get our paperwork back from the FAA. With the master plan, airport master plan is 75% complete, and the airport layout plan is 35% complete.
Move approval for all 3.
Second.
Got a motion from Johnson and a second from Ronayne. Carl, can I get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Rife.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Rux.
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Next, we've got the bills listed for September 9th, 2019. Has anyone got any questions as it relates to the bills located in the packet?
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion from Bunceness, second from Johnson. Anyone have any questions? If not, Carl, give me a roll call vote on that, please.
Councilmember Rux.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Rife.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Remley.
Aye.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Lynn's manager report, what have you got?
I got 3 items this evening. The first item deals with Rich and Tom. If you remember, they asked for authorization to do a summer youth rider program with Rideline, and they're here to do their transportation program report after the end of this program. Would you be kind enough to flip over to my computer once again, so the public can kind of see some of the statistics that they're talking about with their presentation?
Okay, what we had, we ended up with 25 riders signing up for the summer youth program. They rode a total of 660 times. Of the 25 riders, 16 of them did not ride enough times to pay their $60 for the pass. The Aquatic Center was the most popular destination out of all of those. The revenue we collected from the summer passes, they were $60 a piece, so we had collected $1,500 from the passes. And if we had just charged the $2 per ride, we would have only had revenue of $1,320. If you count in what it cost based on our 2018 cost per ride numbers of $6.32, the total cost that it cost Rideline to provide those rides was $4,171.20. Obviously, Rideline is subsidized by state and federal grants, so the numbers are a little bit deceiving as far as the totals. But overall, it was a good program. We had a lot of compliments on running the program from parents, saying that their children were able to go to a lot of events throughout the summer that they would not have been able to had we not had the program. So
How many years have you done this program?
This was the first time that we did it on the demand response system. Back in 2010 and 2011, it was run as a fixed route system. That did not fare very well.
Okay. Do you think through maybe some better marketing, we're getting some help with the school system and that we could, because like I say, I think this is important, especially getting kids safely from one location to another around the community to the different things that are going on. Do you think maybe we could see more ridership next year?
Definitely. We got a late start on this one this year. Didn't get it really up and going and approved by council until in May, so we didn't have time to market it properly. Next year, if we do it again, we will be marketing it a lot heavier and anticipate a lot higher usage.
We'll get some flyers put out at those destinations, you know, to help get that awareness out.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mitch?
Okay. Okay, another item is very important. I'm glad that there are some people here to hear this. The Assistant City Engineer, Stu Nelson, informed me that the intersection of 15th Southeast and State Street will be closed for a 2 to 3 week period around the time frame of the end of September. And Stu, do you want to talk about the project that's going on?
Sure. We're originally, the contractor was going to start working on storm sewer today, but with the rain that we had, what they observed was basically the pipe is pretty full, the Klein Street storm sewer that runs on the south side of the Barnett Center there. So they're going to wait until the beginning of next week to start the work on the actual storm sewer. So that's going to push the closure of 15th and State off for about another week beyond what we had anticipated originally.
So in effect, you won't be able to drive through State Street?
That's correct. When we close that intersection to replace the infrastructure there, the intersection itself will be closed for about 3 weeks.
So what have we done communicating with the school district?
We had a meeting with the school district and with Northern last week to kind of make them aware of the situation and to come up with plans for how to best move traffic through the area. And you know, based on the weather, we're providing them with updates on what we think that the schedule is going to be, so they know very closely when we actually are going to close the intersection. And obviously, we'll do public notifications at the same time when we know what that date's going to be.
So anything the police is doing to help, Chief?
Just to kind of echo what Stu has said, we met with Northern, the contractors, the school system, at least 2 different times. The city manager, Lynn, was there. So they're planning and preparing for that. That's going to be a serious disruption in that area. So I know that Becky Guffin, the superintendent, is working with her staff and communicating with the parents and motorists in that area, especially relative to the school. So we're going to be watching that very closely. Our Northern State officer's been, from day one of school start in Aberdeen, has been down there to assist. We have crossing guards, and we're going to watch that real close and assign additional staff if we need to. So I think we're looking at it pretty closely, and it's going to be a challenge, but I think we can work through it.
Okay, if there's no other questions, the last item I have is, I don't know if you had the opportunity to read the city manager's report, but within your report, I put what I call the combined total utility bill for 6,000 gallons comparison for water, wastewater, and stormwater. And there's an engineering firm by the name of AE2S that does a voluntary shared data program where they send out their survey to cities throughout what I would call the Midwest, and then they assemble this data and you can use it kind of as a comparison. And if you would go to my computer once again, Stu, you'll see the number of cities that participated for the various different states. For example, in Iowa and Wisconsin, there was only 12 cities that participated with systems that were greater than 5,000, but the low billing within Iowa and Wisconsin was $53. The high billing for that same 6,000 gallons, including water, wastewater, and storm sewer, was $134. When you average those 12 cities, it was $83. Well, you go through and you look at Minnesota, non-metro, the average was 76 for 32 cities. Montana, 10 cities participated. The average was 76. North Dakota, 13 cities participated, and the average was 67. South Dakota, 15 cities participated, and the average was 86. Utah, 75. Wyoming, Colorado, and Nebraska, only 7. Well, the very end summary shows you the average comparison of those multiple states with Aberdeen, and you can see when you compare based upon averages, Aberdeen was below the averages for all those states.
So what do you contribute that to, Lynn? Is that good planning, incremental increases every other year, every year, all of the above? Do you contribute that to anything?
Excuse me, I was trying to look at my computer.
Surprise, your rate's going to increase, Dave.
No, that's contributed to good planning from the treatment operators as well as the maintenance and the city engineer, Peg, Bob, and maintenance and finance. We're always looking at this on a regular basis, and probably the most it's just like right now, we're searching for water, and we actually have adequate water, but we're searching for water for the future. So 10 years from now, they can say our forefathers had the insight to plan for the future. And I think part of that is when you look at our capital outlay, if we go beyond a 1-year period, we're looking at 5-year periods and beyond. And so I think it's the people that are on staff that look at this and understand the importance for the future, and with that, we're getting a better product that other people don't necessarily get sometimes.
So what was the highest amount in South Dakota? Do you have that? It was like $150 or something in that order.
Yeah.
Which community was that?
I think it was Harrisburg.
It was Harrisburg.
Yep.
They have a lot of infrastructure.
Let me see here. Okay, for South Dakota, we were rated probably second lowest at 64. Watertown was at 54. T was at 69. Huron at 70. Mitchell at 70. Vermilion 77. Sioux Falls 78. Spearfish 78. Rapid City 82. Fox Elder 92. 96 for Pierre. And Pierre's doing a capital improvement program where they're going to replace their water source, where they're going to go from wells to the river. And so I imagine their rates will probably even double from where they are right now.
I think they've taken some of that increase already.
Have they?
Yeah.
Okay. Madison, 96. Brookings, 102. Brandon, 107. And Harrisburg, 157. And that's based upon water, wastewater, and stormwater with an average use of 6,000 gallons. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Lynn. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
Motion from Watson, second from Ronayne. Carl, give me your final roll call vote for the night.
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Rife.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Olson. Aye. Rux.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Hey, Dave, I'm sorry I was reading something as you were asking me the question.